Hey, the better rifle. Drop the gun! Oh, shit! I'm hit. I'm okay. I'm okay. But I'm not gonna die.
Welcome to Badges, Bullets, and Blunders. I'm the host, Travis Harless. Today's guest is Alex Fisher. Alex is a news anchor for KGET 17 News. Alex, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Where are you from?
Yeah.
How'd you get into the news business? How long you been in the news business? All that.
Yeah. So born and raised here.
Mhm.
So, yeah, born and raised in Bakersfield. I went to Rosedale North Elementary, Freedom Middle, and then graduated from Liberty High School.
Okay.
And then, it's so funny. I graduated high school and I was like, I left Bakersfield and I was like,
Not coming
bye
back.
bye Bakersfield.
coming
Like
back.
I'm never coming back.
Yeah.
And then I don't know what it is. I don't know if
It's
it's
got that
like a
effect.
vacuum or something, like
It
the
does.
Bakersfield vacuum that just sucks you back in. But I was adamant. I was like, I'm leaving. I'm never coming back.
That is a tale as old as time.
Yeah, said everyone who comes back to Bakersfield, right? Well, I'm like, one of them. So came back to Bakersfield, and it came down to, I was in college, and my news director, reached out at the time. I met him and I was like, hey, let me know if you have a job, any jobs. I was in college, I was a senior in college, a couple months from graduating, and he said, yeah, I got a reporter job if you want it. And I was like, yeah, I'll take it. So that was over 9 years ago,
So
almost
did you
10 years ago.
Did you go to college for journalism, or was that your plan? Did you want
No,
to work in journalism?
my plan was I wanted to go into business. So I graduated, and then as a freshman declared business administration as my major.
Mhm.
And my first, and then like I had taken a math course or something, and I had tested out of like 2 prerequisite or whatever. So they throw me into this calculus class, and it was my first college class ever. And I think I was like I think it was the second class, and I was like, nope,
Yeah.
no, like absolutely not. Don't want to do this. Don't want to do math. Which is funny because like I don't mind math. Like my dad's a math teacher. He's a math teacher at Rosedale Middle. But yeah, for whatever reason, I was like, this is not for me. So I went undeclared, studied abroad in Germany and studied abroad there for a year. So that was fun living in Germany for a
Yeah.
year. And then I came back. And I was like, okay, I mean, it's time, right? Like I want to graduate in 4 years. I
Mhm.
don't want to be that person that's like, it's my 4th year being a senior.
Yeah.
And so I was like, all right, like what do I like to do? And I was like, I like telling stories. I like, being a communicator and so forth. I like getting in front of people and talking. I'm that person that like, if I'm on a plane, I'll talk to you,
Yeah.
but I'm also not like, if you don't want to talk, I'll pick up
You'll pick up the cue.
cues.
The cue. Yeah.
And sometimes I'm that person that's like, please don't talk to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
You're not tapping them on their headphones.
yeah, I'm not like, so what do you
I
I'm not
You're like, excuse me.
yeah, I'm not that person. But like I'm always gonna be interested. I'll just say hi. But anyway, so like I'm like I like to communicate with people. So I went into like public relations, and I was like, I don't know if I like this.
Mhm.
And then
What school is this?
Pepperdine. So
Okay.
it's down in LA County and
Yeah.
in Malibu. And so so at the time, my girlfriend at the time, she was in sports broadcasting, and she was like, what, have you thought about TV? And I was like, yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess, like, she was heavily involved in our college sports broadcasting. She was doing all of like the basketball games and stuff, and so she was directing all of those broadcasts. And so I was like, yeah, like, I pay attention to the news. I like the news.
Mhm.
And so and then, I got started in there. So I joined like the campus news team and did that. And then I kid you not, my second, so the second semester of my junior year, so I only had 3 semesters left, I switched my major to journalism.
Okay.
Now at the time, I was also majoring in rhetoric, because I was like, oh, I might be a lawyer someday. I don't know, like,
Yeah.
and I'm not gonna do that. I'll tell you that. I'm
Yeah.
not going back to law school. But I was like, I don't know, like, I like rhetoric. I think it's interesting. Again, it's like how people communicate and how we communicate and all that. Like it's really interesting. So yeah, so I did that. So I basically only had like, less than 2 years of college to kind of put myself out there and learn everything, learn all the journalism skills and all of that. And I applied for, I applied for an internship in DC. I lived in DC for 6 months back in 2015, or 5 months, 5 months, I think. And I interned at the local NBC station there. So
Mhm.
not the network, but the local station. And that was cool because like living in DC, I don't know if have you been to DC before?
No, I've never been.
I highly recommend it. Like I highly recommend if you are interested in history, like I'm a big history guy. Like I
Yeah,
love American history. And I think that's the thing that kind of sometimes it sucks about being in California is like our history is very young.
very young.
Like
Yeah,
what history do we have,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know? But even going back to the East Coast and DC and just I mean, I was walking up and down the National Mall all the time.
Hmm.
And just like I would always hang out on the back of the Lincoln Memorial. And anyway, so it was cool being in DC because got to like see how it's like, DC, right? Like nation's capital. Well, the local news station was like, yeah, we don't really care about the politicians because like they're not our residents, they're not our people. We
Yeah,
care about the pipeline that just burst in this neighborhood or
yeah,
the crime that's happening in this.
yeah.
And that was kind of cool was seeing like, oh yeah, like there are people who live here just like
Yeah,
like it's a
they
city. Like
yeah they care
it's
about the locals there.
yeah, they're the locals. And so I work for the local news station there.
That makes sense.
And that was just, I mean, not only was that so much fun, but that was obviously eye-opening, life-changing. And then, the next year I came back I was here for Christmas break. So getting ready to finish out my last semester in college. So New Year's Day 2016, I walk into KGT, the 17 newsroom, and I meet with my news director. And I was like, hey, like, you have a job? And at the time, he's like, no. But great talking to you. Like,
Good.
give me some of your stuff. Would love to critique it. And boy, did he! Like,
Yeah,
I would send him all my college stuff, and he would just rip it apart. And, all for the better. And then one day he was like, "Hey, man, like, I got an opening."
yeah.
I was like, "All right, cool. Like, I'll take it." And that was almost yeah. So that was almost 10 years ago.
Nice. So when you first start, like, do you start doing like on the beat stuff, or how does that work?
Yeah. So it all depends. I mean, there's for mainly for on camera. I did reporting,
Hmm.
just your general assignment reporting for 2 years. And then they asked me if I wanted to anchor the morning newscast,
Yeah,
17 News at sunrise. And I'm like, oh, this is cool. Like I used to watch this as a kid.
yeah.
I used to watch that station to see if like school was going to be delayed because of fog.
Oh yeah,
So I gotta tell you, like, so when we have fog delays, and of course, like they don't happen anymore, but like when
yeah,
they do, I
yeah,
get like super excited. I'm like, oh, like this is so cool.
yeah.
But
I used to love
I'm like,
these.
I used to be the kid watching, so
Yeah.
that was always fun. Yeah, so I started anchoring 17 News at Sunrise in 2018
Oh,
and
okay.
been there since. Yeah.
That's quick. I mean, I don't really know, but does
It was,
that?
I mean, it was a quicker progression, yeah, but I think it was just like the timing had just kind of panned out and
Yeah.
yeah.
Opening came available, and
Yeah,
you were
yeah.
there.
You know how like sometimes they say sometimes like when if you get a job, like a lot of it is like luck. Like
Yeah.
the timing of it just
Oh, I've been the benefactor of that
yeah,
many
exactly. So
times.
that's kind of how it
Yeah.
was for me. And then at the end of my 2 years of reporting, like I had, I built, relationships with people in this community,
Uh-huh.
sources, and I'm like, yeah, I don't want to give that up. Like I mean this is it's home.
Yeah.
So I stayed.
Nice.
Yeah.
Um, that's awesome. I want to talk to you about your relationship with like our local, well, not necessarily just you specifically, but the news media and our local media and our local law enforcement.
Yeah.
And it's funny from my point of view. So I've been a sergeant for 5.5 years, and when I first promoted, I was a patrol sergeant, and I remember I remember as an officer when we would have an event and the news would show up, and as an officer, you don't talk to the news when they show up and they ask for something. You just tell, oh, the sergeant, I'll go get the sergeant. And then I remember when I became the patrol sergeant, and that started happening, like, hey, Sarge, the news is here. I'm like, oh, I gotta go talk to the news, And there's like a bit of a little bit of anxiety or whatever, where it's like,
Dread.
yeah,
Yeah.
dread. You're like,
Oh, what am I gonna
oh.
say? What am I not
Yeah,
gonna
I'm like,
say?
Or
man,
what? Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
just gonna look like an idiot on the news, and like everyone's gonna see, and like they're gonna
Make
make
fun
fun
of
of
you.
yeah.
me, and and so, but it turned out, the times I would interact with the media was never, it always I thought it was gonna be worse than it was, and then, they take care of you, they put the mics on you, and you tell them your name and your position, and then, and even when you stumble over and you kind of sound silly, they usually cut that part out. They're not trying to make you look dumb. They're just trying to get the
Yeah.
story of what happened
They're
there.
like, oh wow, you're human.
Yeah.
Surprise, surprise. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So anyways, that was like my initial experience with the media, was like being kind of nervous about talking to them, because you're just afraid that they're gonna show you in a negative light, and then being surprised that it's really not scary at all. It's actually pretty straightforward and simple.
Yeah, I think like I don't know what it is about this. It's like this love-hate relationship,
Hmm.
I feel like. And I it's so funny because I feel like law enforcement doesn't necessarily know, and I would say not this isn't just in Bakersfield. I feel like this is just like culturally, just in
Hmm.
general. I feel like law enforcement doesn't know how to interact with the media, and then the media doesn't know how to interact with law enforcement.
Yeah.
And I think, part of me wonders, I'm like, who started this? Why is this like the I don't know. So I'll say, first off, because I've heard some officers are like, like, why do you always pick on us? Like, why do you always like
Hmm.
pick on law enforcement? And I'm like, yeah, it's a good question. Like, I mean, it really is. And it's like, you know, I think law enforcement is one of the most noble positions you can have. I mean, it's
Hmm.
like, name me a profession that is a better servant. Like, I mean, you truly are like law enforcement's the servants of the people, right?
It should be.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Like, I mean,
Well,
it
I would say
should
that
be.
when you talk about why you tough on us,
And
I would argue that you should be. I mean, you're a public servant. You signed up for this job. Um, you should be open to the scrutiny.
yeah, exactly.
So I don't think that it's a problem to have a sort of a. It's bad to have an adversarial relationship, but you should be, as a public servant, as a law enforcement official, you should be able to answer the tough questions, because who else is going to answer them? It's just the human side of being on that end, and being like the nervousness of like having to answer the tough questions. I understand that. Uh,
Yeah, and I think that, you know, it's like it's like, I mean, at the end of the day, it's like I get it. Like, I get why there's like sometimes it can be nervous on both ends, right?
mm,
And I understand why there's frustration on some stories. Like, sometimes we're doing a story and we're looking for basic information, and you would think, whether I mean, it could be something as simple as like a car crash or something.
hmm.
And like, I can't remember the exact case, but this was I'm gonna say like a year or two ago, and we were asking for like basic information on some car crash, and we wanted to know of like whether or not I think we wanted to know like whether or not there was like alcohol involved or something. It was like, oh, we can't tell you that. It's under investigation. We're like, how can you not tell us if it's like,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And and it's like there's always like those frustrations sometimes of like, what do you mean you can't tell us like these
Mm.
basic facts? Whereas other times it's like, whoa, the floodgates are open. Like, you're
Yeah.
telling us everything. Wow, this is like crazy.
I think a lot of that depends on who you talk to and what time you made that call.
Right. And sometimes it comes down to that, right? Is
Mhm.
like on who you're talking to. And honestly, I think there's also just the overall fear of like, yeah, if you're giving out information, it's like at the end of the day, you don't know how it's going to be
Mhm.
edited.
Yeah.
You know, live is a different thing because live is like it's live.
Yeah.
Like, live is live. Like, there's no going back, there's no
Yeah.
editing. It's like
Yeah.
it's live.
Yeah.
When it's recorded, again, the pros and cons of that is like the pros are you you can say it however many times you want.
Mhm.
And then you can say like, oh, this is actually the one that I want. Now, the caveat to that, it's like it's good to have like a relationship with a reporter. If you're like, hey, like
Yeah.
I'll give you information. I'm trying to be as transparent. And this is the thing too. It's like if you're just like, look, I want to be as transparent as possible. If I say something that might be wrong or it might not come across as like the truth, I'm going to stop myself. And I'm just, if I could, I'm going to ask you to not use that
Yeah.
because it's just at the end of the day, it's like, that's not really representative of what I'm trying to say.
hmm
And so, but yeah, I think there's just sometimes like there's this fear. I think there's also like, with like, I understand how cops, law enforcement can sometimes look and be like, I like, there's this, like, I don't want my words to be, misrepresented. I don't want it to be misconstrued.
Yeah, and there's a
And
nervousness, like they're representing an entire agency. So they're like,
yeah,
when you're
yeah,
giving that sound bite, you're like the representative for the whole organization. And so when you talk about like you're asking for basic information on a crash, and they're like not telling you whether it's alcohol related, I could see where that would happen. So it depends, like I say, when who you talk to and when you call.
hmm
And some people are more cautious than others. And like I probably err on the side of maybe saying more than I should say, maybe giving too much information. But some people would err on the side of like, well, I'm just going to give the very
the
basic least amount
pendulum. Yeah,
of stuff that I can give
yeah,
or that I have to give because they're afraid of being the guy or girl who said a little bit too much to the news. And then now they're
right,
going to have to answer for, well, why did you
right,
tell them that? And
right.
it's easier just to say, oh, well, that's under investigation.
Is
We
there
can't
like, I
share
mean,
that.
like, where does that come from? Like,
The
is it just like an innate fear of like, oh man, like I don't want to make my, I don't want the agency to look bad, or is it like a,
Well, I think it comes from the fear of like just getting in trouble. Not that you would get in trouble for sharing that information, but like if I say something to the news that's a little bit more, I release a little more information than I should have, I'm going to get a talking to about that later on. You know what I
right,
mean? And
right,
then I don't want to have that interaction, and I don't want to have them perceive me that way. Like a fear of getting in trouble, basically, like
yeah,
you would have in any other job or any other situation. And again, I err more on the side of just letting it rip and just telling the truth about what happened. But there are people that have that fear. I talk about this a lot. I teach sergeant school sometimes when we have new sergeants, and I guess a supervisor. We have this when a pursuit happens, like
yeah,
officers are chasing somebody in a vehicle pursuit. You have to a sergeant will have to copy the pursuit. So they'll get on the radio and they'll say that they copied the pursuit. And that means that they're now kind of assuming responsibility for this call or this situation. And then it's your decision to allow the pursuit to continue or to cancel it. What did you do?
I don't know.
we're
Might take
back.
one. Yeah, we're back.
Cool.
Okay. Yeah, so as a supervisor, you can never get you will never be penalized for canceling a pursuit. You can only be penalized for allowing a pursuit to continue that you should have canceled. Right? So somebody comes back after the incident and be like, "Hey, this was too dangerous. This was too fast.
Mhm.
You should have canceled this pursuit." But nobody ever says anything like if you shut it down right away. And so it kind of creates this culture where there's stop measures in place for one end, but not for the other. And so it kind of pushes you in that direction to where
Yeah,
you get people that become, and this is maybe just Travis's own personal opinion, but become overly cautious and like, I'm just going to cancel this because they're worried about the liability of allowing it to go. And I've literally been in pursuits where um, I following along, and there's a lot of officers, 10 or so officers in this pursuit, and we're pursuing a driver who is obeying all the traffic laws. They're driving the speed limit. They're stopping at all the stop signs, stoplights. They're even signaling when they're turning. The only thing they're not doing is pulling over. And I've had that pursuit get canceled. And and so there's no danger to the public, or
right.
basically no danger to the public in this instance, but it's being canceled. And I've also been in pursuits where maybe we went a little faster and a little bit more than we should have, and probably should have canceled sooner. So I guess what I'm getting at is there's an over that environment creates sort of a overly cautious
Yeah.
people sometimes where they're they can only get dinged for saying too much to you, but they're not going to really get dinged, but just saying, hey, it's under investigation. We can't release that
I mean,
information.
sometimes playing it, yeah, it's like I see you like
Playing it safe.
playing it safe.
That was a
Yeah.
long way of saying playing it
Yeah,
safe.
playing it safe. And like I know that obviously like there's, there and I got to tell you like I think it's actually really cool because both both Chief Terry and Sheriff Youngblood do this, but they come on our morning show once a month,
Hmm.
and they just like, they talk about what's in the news. They talk about, and that what's I mean, first off, I think it's cool to have, that the presence of
Hmm.
the chief, the sheriff in front of the public, in front of tens of thousands of people, essentially,
Yeah.
um, live in Kern County. So I think that in itself is cool, just for the public to hear
Hmm.
from these people. Um, but we have them on once a month because, we're trying to get answers. We're trying to um, follow up on some stories. And obviously it's like with them, they'll, I mean, it doesn't really go higher than them. I
Yeah.
mean, I
Doesn't
mean,
go
yeah, I
higher
mean,
than
it
them.
can't. Yes, it can't. But like, I mean, for the most part, it's like it's like they'll fill in the gaps.
Yeah.
And so, and of course, a
So
lot of times too, it's like,
when you do
yeah.
those interviews, do you tell them ahead of time, like, hey, these are the stories that we want to
So
discuss? Like, how does
yes,
that work?
yeah. So I think it's like so
And not like, and I just see that being beneficial, not because like I'm trying to game it, but if you tell me ahead of time, like,
no,
these are the things I want to know about, I
that's my
can
whole thing.
kind of
It's
do the research and be
yeah.
prepared to give you the information.
We never give out questions ahead of time. It's like
Yeah.
a big journalism 101 do not
Yeah.
do. Like, don't give out the questions ahead of time.
Yeah.
But it is actually considered ethical to give the topics
Yeah. That's what I mean.
because
Like, you don't
it's,
have to tell me what you're going to ask me about the case, but you say,
yeah,
hey, I want to talk to you about this case.
I
And
mean,
then,
it'd be like if I go to you and I just like randomly just came up to you and just said like, what was the third case that you like? What was the most interesting thing about the third case that you ever worked on? It's like,
yeah.
I mean, I can go back and look at, but it's like I can't just throw that out you. Now, so yeah, so what we usually do when we hold these interviews, and this is any interview that we're doing just across the board, especially if it's live. Um, I mean, I actually think really the only time that you're not going to get the like when you're talking to the when you're talking to the news
Mhm.
in the field, whether it's a crime scene or an event or something, I mean, you kind of know what you're going to be talking about,
Yeah.
right? Like
Well,
you already
we're
know
here
the
for this
topic, right?
instance. It's like behind the tape
Yeah,
back here. We're
exactly.
talking about that. Yeah.
But anytime we're bringing someone on, to talk about certain topics or whatever it may be, like with our long-standing interviews that we have with the chief and the sheriff, we're like, hey, all right, like these are kind of the topics that we want to what we want to focus on. These are the things that we want to kind of discuss. And for me, I will write my questions down.
Mhm. That's gonna be the next question. Is like,
Yeah,
dictionary
so
write
I
'em
do
out.
write my questions down, but I mean, it's kind of like, and I think I mean, you get it. It's like you have a whole list of questions, but sometimes those questions aren't relevant
Mhm.
based on where the conversation's going.
Yeah.
And so I don't always know what the response is going to be.
Mhm.
And so sometimes I can kind of prepare myself like, all right, like it's, if I ask this question, I think I know where the response is going to be. And so I can kind of tailor my questions to, what the response may be. Or it's like, okay, well, if it's like, if the response is this, then, you know, ask this question. If it's this, then ask this question,
Mhm.
so forth.
Create a
Um,
flow chart.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
kind of. And so we always give them like the topics ahead of time, but it kind of goes back to what you're saying. Our job in the news is to get information out there.
Mhm.
So if it is better for, if I, give them I mean, it's not just the chief or the sheriff. I mean, anyone who's coming in, like if we're going to be talking about a certain topic and I want specifics on like, how many kids were kidnapped last year,
Mhm.
it's it's better to have a number than just to say, well, we had quite a few,
Yeah.
like I don't have the exact number.
Yeah.
So it's just stuff
And
like
you're
that.
not gonna just know that number off the top of your
No, I
head.
mean, how would, I mean, yeah. So it's like, especially when we go to those specifics. So, like lately, we've been talking about obviously like with crime and stuff. Like I know, like like BPD released a couple days ago, maybe like a week or two ago, how I think it was property crime
Mhm.
was significantly down in 2022 or something like that. And I'm like, oh, well, that's interesting. Well, there's context there,
Yeah.
that I mean, it's like at face value, you're like, oh, that's cool. Like that's a number but once we got into it and once I like said, I told Chief Terry, I was like, hey, I want to talk about this. And, obviously you can go back and look at the interview. It's on our website, but, because we always post those on our website. But, he was like, yeah, that's the number, but context is needed,
Yeah.
and so he explained the context. And then in that, he was actually able to provide real life examples that prove the context, and
Yeah.
so tangible. It's like it was tangible, and like, oh, okay, I kind of understand now. So yeah, we always go like for the topics. Like if anyone is like, has an interview with, with a like a like with the news media or whatever, it's like, don't ask for questions, they're never going to give them to you.
Yeah.
But like they should give you topics.
Yeah.
And it's like the other thing too is it's like if you don't know, just say you don't know. Like I
Mhm.
mean, it's like as simple as that. It's just like, hey, I don't know, but I'll get back to you.
So do you feel like you get better information when you're talking, because you're talking about the chief or the sheriff? I mean, they have bosses that they answer to,
Right,
but
of
they don't
course.
have anyone within the organization that they
Right.
answer to. So there's not a higher law enforcement person that they're answering to. Like they have a city manager,
Right.
but do you feel like you get better information when you're talking to the top person?
I think that like what I have
Then
found, I think it comes down to like experience too, right? Like I
yeah,
mean it's just traditionally been seen as the person who, is the chief or the sheriff. I mean they've been in front of the camera for years. I mean they've
that's
done
true. Yeah.
dozens if not hundreds.
Yeah. Our chief was he was the PIO when I went to the academy, actually.
Yeah, so it's like throughout time they just get it, right? Like they just understand. I mean, it's like I look back at where, like how I was reporting back when I first started, and
Hmm.
I'm like, oh God,
Yeah.
like I don't know, I didn't know anything. Well,
Yeah.
then over time, like you understand. And it's the same thing, like I know how to, like when I get to a scene, for example, I know how to interact with you. I know where I can go and where I can't go.
Uh-huh.
And I also know, like if you've got things, taped off and stuff, or you've got the roads blocked, I know when someone says, "Oh, we can't let you go." I know when to say, "Well, that's BS.
Mhm.
Actually, we know we can go through."
Yeah.
Or we know when it's like, "Oh yeah, okay, we get it. Like
Hmm.
we can't. Like this is our limits."
Yeah.
And so, but then it's like that it just takes time, like getting used to. And I think that like what I have found is with a lot of, especially with, higher ranking
Hmm.
law enforcement, and I mean, it's not just law enforcement, it's in any profession, right? The higher ranking person is comfortable in front of the camera. And when I say comfortable, I don't mean, you know, animated, energetic, like,
Hmm.
oh, this big TV personality. No, it's actually, it has nothing to do with that. It's they know how to
Yeah.
talk. They know
Just
how,
experience.
yeah, it just comes down to experience. And so it's like they know how to be real. They know
Mhm.
how to um like, if there's a hard question that I'm asking someone, it's not the response is not, well, no, I don't think so. It's like, yeah, I can't talk about that right now,
Mhm.
or I'll get back to you on that,
Mhm.
or it's just like it's just straightforward.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that comes with time. I also think too, it's like I think it's why it's important to, I mean, both for like, it's just good to build relationships with people.
Mhm.
I mean, why would I be vulnerable with you if I have no idea who you are?
Mhm.
And it's like
And like you said,
things take time to build.
you've been with the station 10 years, you said?
Almost 10 years, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And so 8 years as an anchor. It's like if you have to think of like time. This isn't just about this one particular story, this one particular incident right now. Like we're going to be like if you're burning that bridge now, well, that's going to make it a lot more difficult for the next incident in the future.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. It's like, I mean, again, it's like I think like my whole thing is, and this is just like a life, like this is what I just abide by is like I'm always looking to build relationships with
Yeah,
people
for sure.
because two things happen. One, you meet a lot of cool people out there,
Mhm.
and two, you also know when to say, I am not interacting with you, and
Mhm.
I'm going to keep my mouth shut when I'm around you,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Because once you get to know, when you build some sort of relationship with people, you don't need a lot
Yeah.
to kind of know who they are. That
Yeah.
like the type of
Fill them out
person,
and
yeah,
kind
to
of
fill
figure
them
out
out.
who you're dealing with.
So I think it's like, you know, it's important because, oh, and that's the other thing is because there have been times too where I have a relationship with someone and it's a good standing work relationship,
Mhm.
and I may, of course, it's never, malicious, but like I may, something may happen, whether it's a story that I'm presenting, the facts may not be like 100% clear, or I could have mixed something up, or whatever. And it's you know, my source, or, whoever I'm talking about, what, what was that? Like, what were you doing? And then it's not an attack, but it's like, that's not right. You need to fix it. And it's like, absolutely.
Yeah.
And then but it's like in those instances too, it's like, oh, okay, like you're fixing it. Like you take this seriously. And so it's like, the relationship, the trust building continues.
Yeah. And if you have a good enough relationship on the front end, then they're going to feel comfortable to be like, hey man, what was the deal? Why didn't you do it that way? And actually
Yeah.
bring it to you.
And I think sometimes, like, I'll say this too about like reporters. I don't know what it is, but like, because obviously there's always there's bad apples, right? And I think sometimes, and I know that you can say the same thing about like, with law enforcement, there's like always those bad apples.
Sure.
And I think that there are also industries too where you can have a lot of people sometimes who it goes to their head.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Talk about law enforcement for sure. Yeah.
And well, it's in media too. And it's like, for me, it's like when I see that in my own industry, I'm like, I'm gonna be the first person to call it out.
Yeah.
Because it's like, that is not like, you're not, no, it never goes over well. And I would hope that, like, if I was acting that way, I would hope that someone would come up to me and be like, absolutely, like, no,
Yeah.
like, no, cut it out. And I think sometimes, like, you do have, there are some journalists, and I think you see this a lot, like because Bakersfield is a smaller media market. I think you see this often because there's a lot of younger journalists out there. When they don't necessarily have the experience when they're first starting, there's nerves that are involved. There's like, they just haven't had the life experiences, the training. And so they feel like they've got to get the big story. They got to get the big thing. And it's like, nah, like, don't.
This
Like,
is a marathon.
yeah, well, yeah, and it's like, if you get the big story, then great, like, good for you, like, you got the big story, but let it come to you.
Yeah.
Don't go like search, or don't go out there just to simply find something,
Yeah.
or make it into something, right? And so I think like sometimes there's, when you get like, especially if you get like someone in law enforcement and someone in media together, and they're both like,
Have that personality.
had that personality.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Talk about fireworks. I
Oh,
mean, that
yeah.
could get real interesting.
Yeah.
And it's like, part of me, it's like, you need to take both of them and just like,
Just both of you
just
need
like
to relax.
both of you just need to relax.
Yeah,
Like,
turn it down a notch.
just yeah, exactly.
Turn it down. I was wondering, like, if you don't have to reveal any sources, obviously, but like if you find that, or do you have any relationships, or find it easier to talk to someone like in an offline capacity? Like, is there someone that you can call and like, hey, what's the deal with this? So like you call the actual line to talk to the watch commander, and you get a,
Which we do.
and you
yeah.
get of course, and you get an answer of like, well, we can't release that. It's under investigation. It's like, well, what if I call my buddy, whoever, Detective so-and-so, and say, hey man, what's the deal with that? And then
Okay, so
kind of like an offline,
yeah,
like, what,
yeah.
eh,
So I'll tell you this. So again, going back to relationships, right? The sources that I have,
that's what I mean. If you have a good relationship, like if you have a good relationship and you call me and ask me like, hey Travis, what's the deal with this? I'll just,
yeah,
this is what's going on.
and you should know that, like, again, with sources, and this is kind of going back to like the morals, the moral compass of like, journalism and so forth. A good journalist will never reveal a source under any circumstances.
Yeah.
Meaning, and we've actually seen this like worldwide, people die. Like, people die because they're not revealing their sources. People will go to jail because they're not revealing their sources. And it's like, that's kind of the ethical thing there, right? It's because, if I have a relationship with someone, I make it very clear that they know, like, hey, if you are a source, like, what you tell me is truly going to be confidential, and hold me accountable.
Yeah.
You should absolutely hold me accountable for that.
But then you could get information. So you obviously know this better than I. Or if you release that information, like, and you report on it, well, then it's going to be obvious where it came from.
Yeah, and that can also be, so usually in journalism, like in journalism, we do not do anonymous sources unless you get two credible people
Yeah, I got you.
who don't necessarily have a direct correlation to each other, who can confirm it.
So
I'll
you
give
use
you an
it as like a
example.
pointer system then. So like you get some information that they don't want to be revealed, and then you can kind of know where to then look to try to find that on your own.
Yeah. So I'll give you an example. Do you remember the report? It was a report of an active shooter at Mercy Southwest.
Oh yeah.
What was that? Like 2017, 2018?
It would have
Does that sound about
been
right?
18
18?
because the guy was related to the one at
At
Memorial.
Memorial,
I
yeah.
didn't go to the Southwest. I was off that day, but I was at the Memorial
But you
one.
remember, I mean, you remember all that, right?
Yeah.
We were getting, like, I kid you not, we were getting all of these sources were saying, well, I'm hearing this and I'm hearing this. At one point, someone said like it was a bloodbath.
Yeah.
All of these different things. Now, at face value, you might go, okay, well, you had a reputable source say that, you would go on air with that. No, because yes, we had all these sources saying things, but no one like they were all different.
hmm
They were all different. And so it kind of makes you go, well, if one person's saying this, but another person is saying this, and then another person's saying this, obviously someone's wrong. And so, and then sure enough, it was like,
It was a fake. It was a hoax.
it was a hoax,
Yeah.
right? So imagine what would have happened if we went on air because we heard one person say it was a bloodbath. I mean, we would be,
Yeah.
I mean, who would be able to trust it? I
Nobody's
mean,
going to trust you.
no,
Yeah.
no, I mean, that's terrible. And so, I mean, I remember that night vividly because we were actually getting flagged. People were calling us saying, why are you not going on? Like, why are you not reporting on the fact that there's a mass shooting at this hospital and blah, 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 blah. And it's like,
Hmm.
because we're having questions ourselves of whether or not there's an actual shooting, going on here. And sure enough, obviously it wasn't.
Yeah.
And the whole story was this massive law enforcement response for hours,
hmm
and it was a bunch of nothing.
Yeah.
And it was just like, and I mean, I remember, oh, who was the PIO at the time? Um, was it Holcomb? Was it Sergeant Holcomb?
Could have been.
I think it was. I think it was Sergeant Holcomb.
Or Gary.
And no, I don't think it was Gary. I don't think it was Gary at the time.
Okay.
But
Pair?
no, it
No,
wasn't. It
he was
wasn't Gary.
later.
Yeah, he was
It's
later.
probably
I
Holcomb.
think I'm pretty sure it was Holcomb. I remember live on air. He said, "All right, I have details," and he just laid it all out. And we were in the newsroom going, "What?
Yeah.
Like that's it?" And I'm
That's
sure,
it.
I'm sure you guys are doing the whole thing after you do all your sweeps and stuff, going
Yeah.
like, "We did all this and it was just a hoax,"
Yeah.
But like that's an example of we were getting information, but again, it wasn't deemed credible because we didn't get it from two separate things.
Okay.
Like let's say you and your buddy were like let's say you and your buddy were giving me information. I could go like, yeah, okay, but like you guys are buddies, so
Mhm.
one of you could just be piggybacking off of the other guy.
Yeah.
So when we go on and talk about like anonymous sources and so forth, it's always two anonymous sources that are separate from each other
Mhm.
so that you can, in a way, if someone were to question, like, how did this get out? You can cause doubt. Like, because we can go back and say, we had at least a minimum two people
Yeah.
who were not related to each other who confirmed this.
That makes
And
sense.
and so and then obviously it's like if you get two people who don't really know each other, they're not in the same circles, if
Mhm.
they're giving the exact same details, like very, very like the specifics are spot on, it's pretty safe to move forward.
Yeah. It's so and that's similar in law enforcement. If you're getting information from different people giving you the same story, then that is an indicator that it's probably legit. I would imagine that you're going to take every effort to independently verify. So you get this anonymous information or not necessarily anonymous to you, but like a source that wants to remain anonymous. And then you guys are going to go out on your own and try to like confirm that on your own. And then you can kind of remove the source entirely from the story.
Yeah.
Is that something that
Yeah, no, we've done that. Oh yeah, we've done that. We do that all the time, especially like if we'll, I mean,
because we do that in law enforcement too. It's like, hey, you might want to go check over there, like for this person, and then do some research on our own and figure out, well, this is actually a location where that person might be, and then we go and we find them over there, and then we can kind of cut that
Yeah,
original source of
yeah,
information out because we did have a way to independently verify it on our own.
right. So I mean, we do that too, and it's like it's because we will always like when we say like sources say.
Hmm.
Now, this is the one thing that I think that journalists could be better about doing, just like as in industry, is explaining how we get sources. And when we simply say sources say,
Yeah.
like
Well, I mean, you have
it's not,
limited airtime too, though.
yeah, but it's not like we're going like, oh yeah, some guy we saw on the street said
Oh, yeah.
this. It's like, I mean, it is a complex, like when we say sources say, it's like, I mean, it actually really has a lot of weight,
Mhm.
right? But the second we get, someone else confirming it or going on the record, we'll attribute it to them.
Yeah,
Right.
that makes sense.
And that, so the other thing too, like kind of another example was during the Bakersfield Christmas parade. And
Mm,
I got to tell you, like I
was there on
saw,
that.
yeah, I remember this a couple years ago. So to
You were there, right?
me,
Yeah.
what?
He was there too.
Oh yeah. I mean, it was just chaos. So I was sitting live. So we were in the middle of a newscast. I was with my co-anchor at the time, Maddie Jansen, who just actually, who just left the station a couple weeks ago. But we were hosting the parade. We were live on air, and in the background, it was like 5:30 or something. We saw because you guys are like the first uh, entry, I
Mhm.
think, of the parade.
Yeah,
Well,
first float.
yeah, of the float. You guys kick things off and all that stuff, and you guys do the
I think it's the motor officers probably.
motor officer,
Yeah.
and it's a big fanfare, and it's always fun. Well, at like 5:30, the parade starts at 6. 5:30, all of a sudden we start seeing all of the officers sirens on and just speeding, and we're
Yeah.
like, what in the world? We're live on air. We're like, okay, like we
Yeah.
have no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
And then we just start seeing people where we were set up right outside our studio. We start seeing people run. We got people, people are coming up to us saying like, oh, it was a mass shooting. Oh, it was, it
Mhm.
was this, it was that. Someone said like a bunch of kids are dead, and
Yeah.
all this stuff. And we're like, oh my goodness. So, Chief Terry is off because he was just like gonna come and talk to us anyways. He was off to the side. He was like on his phone and everything. And I look at him and I was like, what is going on?
Yeah.
And he said, I'm trying to figure that out right now.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like, because I was like, is it this? Is it that? He's like, I'm trying to figure this out right now because I'm hearing the same things that you're hearing.
Yeah.
And it was really interesting because I'm like, this really does. The incident was a quarter of a mile down the street.
Mm.
You had every officer out there.
Yeah. For those who don't know, the somebody ran over a couple of people. That
Yeah,
was,
it was yeah.
the parade was getting ready to start, and a guy, he turned
a
out to be a
drunk
drunk
driver, yeah.
driver, got in his truck and just backed over a bunch of people and then crashed into a wall and then stopped.
Yeah, and it wasn't like, it wasn't malicious. The car was inside the barrier at the time, and yeah, it was just, and then he was coming back, and so that's how, it wasn't intentional. It wasn't, it wasn't a terrorist attack or anything like that. It was just,
Yeah, but based on the way it happened, there was a crowd of people. He drove through it.
Drove through it, yeah.
appeared as like a
Intentional act.
an
intentional act.
intentional act. And,
Yeah.
and like there was something that I think happened, like there had been something similar somewhere else in the country. I
Yeah,
think.
yeah. Those types of things have happened where people have driven intentionally
They drive
into
parades
crowds.
and
Yeah.
into crowds and run people over. And
So
And
there's similarities.
Yeah, and so I think so at that time, obviously, like there's just a bunch of chaos, but it was a big like reminder to me too of like, again, we live in this age now where we want information right now,
Mhm.
like right now, and if we don't, we think someone's covering it up. We
Yeah.
think that there's conspiracy theory, whatever it may be, right?
Mhm.
And it's like, nah, it takes time. Like it takes time to confirm this, and so it was just so crazy to be there, to be like a quarter of a mile from the scene. Chief Terry and Mayor Go are standing right next to me. They're talking to each other, trying to figure out what was going on. And then, of course, they're trying to figure out whether or not this parade can actually happen,
Mhm.
And so I was able to see that all in real time. And it was just crazy to be like literally, it's all right there. You have every officer that possible that's responding to this thing.
Yeah.
And even then, it took a significant amount of time for that type of information to be confirmed.
Mhm.
But what had happened in the meantime, of course, the social media was talking about it was a shooting, it was this, it was that. We had all of those entries, pull and whatnot, which sucked. But And then of course, then there was a delay. You had to like, you know, clear the scene. You had to make sure that, you know, reroute and all this stuff. And I was like, it was just like, it was a good reminder of like, man, like this time, like this stuff takes time. Like it
Yeah.
takes time to ensure that you're getting
Yeah.
the, you know, at least the gist of it.
Yeah. Because you're standing next to the chief and he doesn't even know yet. So it's not
Yeah,
like
I mean, it's like, all right.
it's not like they're concealing the information.
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
still,
exactly. I mean,
yeah.
he was on his phone and he was like, I'm trying to figure this out.
Do you guys? So you guys have like a listen to the police radio in
Yeah,
the
we've got the police
station?
scanner. So we get,
But on something like that, you're not going to have the scanner out.
so actually, and that's another thing too, is so we do not report scanner traffic.
Well, no, they'll report the scanner traffic, but that's how they know where to go when
Oh,
something
yeah,
major
yeah,
is
yeah, yeah.
happening.
But
'cause-
even then, like we'll hear though, talking about like how long it takes, we'll hear the reason why we don't report on scanner traffic is because we hear, oh, it's here. Actually, no, it's here. Oh, it's, oh, wait, no, it's not. You know, it's just like, because again, it's just like it takes time.
yeah,
And actually, it's crazy sometimes just in the newsroom, like hearing all the, because I mean, we hear, so we get in our newsroom, we get CHP, we get BPD. I actually don't think we get Shafter. And then, of course, we get out like we get city and county fire. We get the ambulance. I think the only ones that we don't get Shafter PD. I think we actually only just get BPD and CHP
okay,
and KCSO. All the other PDs we don't get. I don't know why, but like when we hear that all the time.
yeah,
As a matter of fact, we always laugh when we hear open mic on channel 1 or whatever.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Like someone's like rocking out.
Yeah.
You know, we're like, oh, that's
or
funny.
talking trash about their boss.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
We haven't heard of that, but my
That's the
favorite is when
worst.
it's like you hear just like country music or something like playing full blast at like 3 a.m. or
Yeah.
something, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, someone's trying to stay awake and
Yeah.
pause.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it was so like on that incident, the parade incident that came out over. So they, on something like that, they have officers dedicated to that scene, obviously, that are with traffic control and
Right.
security, and they have their own separate channel. And so the patrol officers that are working the rest of the city aren't even associated with it.
Mhm.
But that one, you had a major response. So we actually had him on the podcast. Brandon, he's a sniper, and he was up on the roof of one of the buildings and just watched the whole thing happen.
Yeah.
And from his point of view, it looked like what Nick was saying, like a possible terrorist attack or some terrorism related event that was unfolding because this guy runs over a bunch of people. And I talked about it later on. He never pulled forward. He crashed in the wall and just stopped. But had he like put it in gear and taken off again, then that would have really kind of confirmed his
Prompted.
suspicion or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, then of course, I'm sure that like you guys would have to respond in a different way.
Yeah, well, his response as a sniper would have been different than just
Right. Yeah,
reporting the
exactly.
information over
Right.
the radio. But anyway, so he sees this happen, and we have a radio channel dedicated to the parade, but he got onto the primary channel and said, "Hey, there's a critical incident occurring at this location right now," and so that sparked like a much bigger response. That wasn't just the internal security team that
Right.
came; it was
Yeah.
everyone heard it and everyone came. I think we were
I was playing clothes.
Yeah.
I was on like the Fox Theater side, and I had a
because you were working SRT.
yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and I was in patrol, and I think we were just leaving the building, and we were just clearing briefing, yeah, because we were the 5 to 3 shift,
Yep.
and so we just all went straight over, and so you had a lot larger response than you would have otherwise had because
Right.
it went out on the primary channel, and that's why I was asking if they're listening, because if they're listening to just the regular channels, they're not going to hear the internal parade radio traffic, but when it goes out on the primary channel, then that's going to spark, and they're
We
going to,
do hear because like when
They might get channel 4.
we get because like I can't I'm gonna blank on the like the code or whatever, but like when you guys like switch over,
Mhm.
like we do still get that,
Okay.
and like there's a tone that beeps on our end,
Mhm.
and when that tone is going, we know that like we're also listening to that like like when there's ever like an incident, when there's a critical incident, it's like
Oh, when the tone comes on it. So that's
Yeah.
the code, they call it code traffic.
yeah
So if there's something major, there's a large, the purpose of code traffic is whatever you're dealing with as an officer is so important that you need all the
To
other radio
listen.
traffic to shut down,
yeah
and you never want to just basically pay attention to what you're doing. So like the most common, very common will be like a felony car stop. So this, see a stolen car, you got to pull it over. They'll put out this is a stolen car, and then they'll say, code 33 on that channel.
code 33, that's what it is.
And
yeah.
then you'll hear that tone that's beeping, and that's the tone is to let everyone know that there's code traffic on that channel. So like if I'm just sitting here and I get up and I go to leave the building, I turn my radio on, I hear the tone beeping. Well, I know that there's there's code traffic and that I'm not going to get on the radio and talk.
Right.
So the tone is to let everyone else know to like shut up unless you're dealing with this particular
Right.
incident. And so it keeps everyone else off of the channel except for the people involved in that particular incident. And then everyone else who's doing police work other places has to go to a different channel
Mhm.
to do their police work. So that's the purpose of the code 33 or whatever. But yeah, I wanted to ask you about what your thoughts are on the streamer community. This is a new phenomenon that has kind of come in. And I don't know if you guys ever use their footage or
I feel like it kind of competes with kind of like the news.
it does kind of
It's
compete.
like it's kind of interesting because it's like it competes, but then like
in a different
we
way.
use their stuff, then they'll like I don't know. It's like I don't know. Yeah, I mean it's weird. It's like you could say that they compete with us, but then they don't, and then it's interesting. But we're in an interesting time right now. I mean, like, and how people are consuming media.
Yeah. Yeah. So I've talked about it before on the podcast, but like I've been on an incident where I counted 9 of them at a call. And when I first became a patrol sergeant, it was a newer thing, and I'd been off the streets for a little while at that point. And I remember seeing them, and there was like guys that were wearing like stuff that said media on it, and like you don't look like media. You don't look like
Yeah.
anyone from the media I've ever seen. Like who the hell is this guy? And I
Well,
just
yeah,
like
you
I would just ignore him. Like
you
no,
pulled up in
I don't
Yeah.
believe you. Like
in a Kia Soul,
Yeah.
bro. I don't know.
You know, and well, I'm sure it's interesting for you guys too. Like sometimes you see all these people like, oh, you because you got people who are just hungry for this, you know, and
Yeah.
it's like they're hungry to show up and
Well, and they kind of like you talked about having good relationships. They want to have good relationships
Right.
with us because like they're looking for access.
right,
And if they have an adversarial relationship with us, it's going to be more difficult for them to get access.
Yeah.
Like if I'm setting up the crime scene and I know like you and I have an adversarial relationship, well, I might put that tape a little bit further out than
Right,
I
right.
otherwise would have.
right.
You know, so they want to have a good relationship. They're not trying to be confrontational.
Yeah, no, but it is interesting. I mean, like we'll have stringers that will use their so stringers are like they're going out and then they'll just like put it out there and say like, hey, like we got like we get multiple emails a day in
Mhm.
our newsroom that says like, hey, here are the things that we got, and if you want to use it, like pay us a fee. I can't remember what the fee is, but
Oh, so they charge you to use
yeah,
their video?
they charge us, and it's like $100 or something. I mean, it's
Yeah.
nothing really, but it's like yeah, and then sometimes it's different because it's like if we want it to be exclusive to us, then it might be like $500 or
Oh,
something.
so
Or,
they release it to you, but nobody else.
yeah,
Yeah.
so it's like sometimes and sometimes they're like, hey, we were out, like here's footage. Because sometimes these stringers, they like to see their stuff on TV too,
Mhm.
so it kind of depends. But yeah, I mean they do monetize off of it. I mean
Yeah.
they monetize off of it, and
Yeah, and they listen to our that's all they do is listen to the scanner and they just go drive around
well, and
and
you've seen like the Facebook Live and stuff like that, where
Yeah.
like, and then there's a community here in Kerr County that just like loves.
Oh, they love
that.
it.
They
They love it.
love it, and they'll. I mean,
The
it's
Scanner
just
Club.
yeah, Scanner Club, like. Well, and that's so funny too, because like we're all on Scanner Club, and we'll go and we'll see like if we'll hear something on the scanner, like usually like our assignment desk will go straight to Scanner Club and see what other people are
Yeah.
talking. And it's kind of cool. It's like it's like a forum, right? Like
Yeah.
you just
If I'm off duty, I'll go to Scanner Club if I
Yeah.
see a bunch of cops before I text anybody. Let me just go to Scanner Club real quick, see if they know.
Huh.
That way, it saves me a text message or like a call to someone who's working.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never done that.
and so it's yeah, so it's like there's a community that's obviously hungry for. I mean, I know my friend's mom. She loves, apparently. I mean, this is what I've heard from. I mean, he's always telling me. My friend's mom like loves watching these live and just like has it up on her phone, and is just it's like background noise,
Yeah.
And then they go and anytime that something happens, she'll like, oh, they're going to something,
Yeah.
and.
Yeah.
And a lot of those things too, it's like they're so small that they would never end up like on broadcast because it's like, all right, like there are car crashes that happen every day.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
There are injury car crashes that happen every
Unless
day.
they like catch something, which
And
sometimes
sometimes they catch
And
some,
they
they
do.
catch some pretty
Yeah.
amazing stuff.
And they do, and sometimes it's like right place at the right time, and they're following it,
Yeah.
and yeah,
sometimes they're in it.
There's
sometimes they're in it, yeah.
Sometimes they are
They-
legitimately in it.
And then they literally they use the radio to tell them to like get out.
Yes.
Will they really? Oh,
Yeah.
that's funny.
Yeah.
Because they're all monitoring.
Because they're all,
the
yeah, of
scanners,
course, yeah.
There's there's the one particular that's like the biggest one in town. A guy that used to work for us, he doesn't work for us anymore. He was telling me one time they're driving on University near Mount Vernon, and they see him behind them, and he's got this big, it's this very particular truck, and they're like, and
Yeah,
they
yeah,
pulled
they're
up his
watching his
stream, and they're
live.
watching his stream live, and they're like, hey, he's right behind us right now. He's like, watch this. And like turn the lights on and like flip around and like took off really quick. And so then he's like the streamer thinks like, oh,
Oh, there's
something's
something going
happening. Yeah,
on.
so he turns and he folds like, hey, let's see how far we can get him to follow us. Oh, no, sorry, they didn't turn the lights on. That's right. They didn't turn their
They
emergency
just
lights
turn
on.
around.
They just turned around really quick and took off. And they were trying to see how far they could get him. And so they went like a couple of turns or whatever. And like, and then he realized like, oh, these guys are just messing with me. And so they're watching the stream and he's like, and they hear him say, oh, they're just messing with me.
That's hilarious.
So
That is
it's back and
hilarious.
forth, sort of like
But
cat and
those,
mouse game.
have you seen the? I've not seen it, but I think it's on Netflix or something. But there's like a documentary on
Uh-huh.
the stringers in L.A.
Yeah.
and I can't remember what it's called. It's been out for, I mean, it's been out for years, but apparently it's about that because like in L.A. it's, I mean,
It's a big thing.
it's a big thing. I mean, those guys are out like everywhere, and that's the thing. Like if you're watching like news in L.A., like you're going to see every little thing for a
Yeah.
couple reasons, right? One, they've got a bigger area that they cover, like the LA
Mhm.
markets, the news markets. They've got, I mean, like the LA news market is Ventura County, Orange County, LA County, San Bernardino County,
That's huge.
and Riverside County. 5 counties. So the LA news market is 5 counties. It's 14.5 million people that are in
Hmm.
that market. So for comparison, Bakersfield's less than 1 million. Like
Yeah.
that's our market, right? So significantly bigger. But they've got stringers everywhere.
And
And so
And you're saying stringers, right?
stringers, yeah.
Oh, I've
That's
only ever heard them called streamers.
streamers,
yeah, so we call them like stringers, like yeah, but
Okay.
they're like so they well because like well and a lot of them are streaming now, like they
Yeah,
stream, but
Yeah.
so we get so they'll get like they're all over all over those 5 counties, right? And the other thing too is like these LA news markets, they have more news time. Like they've got
Mhm.
hours and hours, I mean, of news. So you do actually get a really good and they got more people. I mean, there's obviously
Yeah.
more stuff going on, right?
Yeah.
So they've got, I mean, they got those guys out all over the place. And so, especially like in the morning, you'll wake up and you will just see those morning newscasts just filled with,
Mhm.
stringer video
Yeah.
and just like, yeah, because I mean, they're everywhere.
I've seen him. We had a pursuit down there a couple of years ago. Went to like Castaic, Santa Clarita area, and and
From that robbery?
yeah, it was a robbery,
Yeah.
and they had stolen. Did you go down there? They had stolen.
No.
Part of the loss was AirPods, and the victim was able to.
That was my deal.
Oh,
I had to stay because it was mine.
gotcha.
was
Well, so
unfortunate.
they were able to track the AirPods. So we found the suspects real quick because they had them in the car, and then pursuit happened, and we went all the way down to LA, and we get down there, and they end up abandoning the car, and
They tried running.
they tried running, but I was impressed. I was not impressed, but I was surprised at how many streamers there were. They were like all over, just walking around.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
looked up, and the
The
news
news,
helicopters is another
yeah.
thing that we don't see. There's like 5 helicopters that are just like and they don't orbit. They whatever you call it, where they float. They stay
They're just
stationary.
stationary, yeah.
Yeah. Whereas
You
like
know so like those lenses too
yeah,
on those news helicopters are like they're insane how
Yeah.
close they can get because they got to be at a certain altitude,
Mhm.
Yes.
significantly higher, and they can zoom in.
yeah.
Those things are crazy.
No,
Oh,
no,
yeah, they
yeah.
can see
Their
everything.
video is, I think it's better than like, the law enforcement, like helicopter air
Oh,
ones
for
and stuff.
sure.
Well, I mean
Yeah.
those news helicopters are, and actually like in what a lot of people don't realize too is like in LA, like I know in LA like NBCLA has 2 helicopters
Mhm.
that they use, so it's like I think it's Alpha and Beta, so they have 2. So again, it's a bigger area.
Yeah.
But then you have some news stations where they'll go in together and say, "All right, like we'll both foot the bill,
Mhm.
and then just like this month we'll take control over it. Next month you take control over it, and then we'll take the same speed."
Yeah.
And so you have that
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, they share it.
Yeah, they share it. So, but
Well,
they
it's
all have. I mean, again, like you said, there's gonna be multiple of them.
yeah. Well, we kind of do that with because we don't have a helicopter for our agency, but we use the the sheriff's departments.
Yeah.
They have like a contract or whatever.
Right.
They pay for it. What else? So, what do you think? Like, at least locally, that what do they do? What do the officers or the agencies do well when it comes to like information sharing or
What could they
um,
do better?
yeah, what could they do better? How about that?
I mean, honestly, I think it comes down to like I mean, this is, I mean, obviously, this is like such a blanket statement, but
Yeah.
it's like we need to but like everyone just in general, right?
Mm,
Like this is not just media, this is not just law enforcement. Like everyone needs to know, like we all have jobs that we're doing, right? And it's like we need to like respect other people's jobs and like their
yeah.
livelihoods and stuff. And so, so when okay, so let's now focus on law enforcement and media. And it's like I think that the media needs to be better at like trying to build relationships with law enforcement.
Mm,
And I think I don't know what it is, but every once in a while I feel like there's this culture that exists of like, oh, like law enforcement bad.
mm,
And it's vice versa on the other end. It's like, oh, law enforcement's like, ah, media bad.
Yeah.
yeah.
And it's like, well, yeah, it can be. I mean, that can be said for anything and
For anything.
anyone,
Yeah.
right?
Anyone, any
But it's like,
organization.
I mean, my biggest, it's like I always tell like reporters and stuff, I'm like, try to build a relationship with, like, when you go to a crime scene, when you go to a scene, like, don't look at them as a cop, like, look at them as a human, like someone who's working,
Yeah. It's just a
right?
person.
It's a person, like, look at them as a person. And I would say the same thing to law enforcement. It's like, look at a journalist as a person who, like,
Yeah.
we all have jobs to do and understand, like, what we're both trying to do, right?
Mm,
Like we're trying to put information out there to the public. We're trying to help people understand how the city works, It's amazing to me how people always think that like law enforcement all they do is like respond to murders and stuff. It's
mm.
like, nah, that's like
It's the
that's
only part. Very, very limited.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's like
There's so much more to it
there's
than
so
that.
much more to it. And I
Mm,
like I'll be real with you, like, born and raised here. I didn't know what I mean, I thought it was like BPD just like goes around, or law enforcement, they just go around and pull people over when we're
yeah.
speeding and respond to like heinous crimes. And it's like
Yeah.
it wasn't, I mean, honestly, it wasn't until I started to get involved. I'm like, oh man, there's so much more.
Well, I'm the same way. I got into the police academy with that same, even getting all the way through and graduating before I really realized what policing was about. So, or what the cops do, had no idea.
Yeah, but I think it's just like I would hope that just like I think relationships in general are important. I think they're just good, even like professionally,
Yeah,
right? Like for your own personal career growth, like you don't know when,
when that
like,
was going to come in handy.
yeah,
Yeah,
and it's like you just don't know. And so I
I
think it's always good to, again, it's like building relationships, I think is one of the most successful things that someone can do,
for sure.
you know?
I try to do that at work. Like I try to never tell people no, like when they ask for something. So my assignment, I work in the violent criminal apprehension team. And so we chase the violent criminals. We catch people that are wanted for violent felonies. But I get phone calls all the time that have nothing to do with that field. And like where someone's asking for us to do something that's like way outside of that. And a reaction I could have was to just be like, "Hey, man, this isn't my job. Like, sorry, no, I'm not doing that." But I try to never give that response. I try to always like, "Okay, we're going to work this out. We're going to find a way to solve this problem for this person."
Hmm.
Because and when you do that, you get to become the person who solves problems for people.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, that becomes useful down the line. And not that it's like I have this transactional relationship, but like there's going to come a time where I'm going to need something, and if I'm the guy that's always doing the favors and solving the problems, then like when I come to someone later on, I'm like, hey man, do you think you could help me with
I
this?
think also it's like, yeah, and I'm glad you said that. It's like it's not transactional, but it's
No,
also like it's not like, ah, like you owe me.
no,
But
not
I
at all.
think it's just like it just comes down to like, all right, now that we've established a connection,
Mhm,
like I'm just gonna feel more comfortable going to you. Or it's like, oh, I know where I can go.
mhm.
It's like it's as simple as that.
Yeah, it's not so much like you owe me, but like if for me, if someone does a favor for me, like I'm going to be eager to find an opportunity to return the favor,
Sure.
without even them asking for it.
Yeah.
I'm going to be eager to like do something to help that person.
Yeah.
And so when you're doing enough favors and you're helping enough people, like life just really becomes a lot easier because people are naturally wanting to be helpful for you. And so having those, like you said, having relationships.
Yeah, I think it's, I mean, it's like, I think it's like a survival thing,
Yeah.
right? It's like if you start building relationships with people, it actually kind of helps that like survival instinct that we all have, right?
Mhm.
It's like if we're all walking around and we think that like we're all strangers, or we're all out to get each other.
Yeah.
It's like, that's
Yeah.
not going to serve you well.
No, it's not. No.
It's not going to serve anyone well. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's all about relationships.
Yeah. But I think, I mean, I think it's something that, like, I mean, it's like with any relationship, it can always get better. It's always evolving. Like,
For
it's
sure.
always got to be like, you got to work at it.
And there's always new players coming up and going away. And
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Always have to build new relationships.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, Nick, you got any questions for Alex?
Geez, I wanted to bring this up earlier, but you guys kind of went off on another tangent. When you were talking about streamers and stuff, along the same vein as streamers is also First Amendment auditors.
Yeah.
And like, have you seen much of their stuff and like kind of like
Yeah, I know that
what
there's
do you
like
think?
coalitions and stuff. Is that what you're talking about? Like First
Uh,
Amendment coalitions and
Yeah, people who like go
He's talking
out
about
and film
auditors.
people who and exercise their First Amendment,
yeah.
So commonly what they'll do is they have two tactics that I've seen. One tactic is where they're chasing radio calls to find officers to confront, and then another tactic is where they're generating their own radio calls to have officers respond. So they're doing something to, like, I've seen it where they'll go to a public place and they'll record people, and then like people aren't used to being recorded. Most people aren't being
the average
the
person.
average person isn't
Yeah.
just getting recorded. So they'll say, this is strange. This person is doing this strange thing. They'll call the police and then we'll show up. And then they'll record that interaction and they'll try to have a contentious interaction so that they can upload it and show like how the cop misbehaved and or violated the rights, and they're really hoping. I got a lot of hate when I said this the last time, but they're hoping that the officer's going to show up and like do something to be a violation of the rights, like take the phone from them or like, or, arrest them for
Right,
recording
right.
in public or do something like that. And if they don't get if they don't get a negative response, then they'll usually resort to like
Name calling.
name calling or like insults, and they're trying to kind of like piss you off as the responding officer so that you'll say or do something that, again, that's going to generate content for them. So yeah, they either create the call for service themselves, or they'll go to a call. So like Nick had one where he was dealing with this girl who was in crisis, a suicidal subject, and he gets there and the call goes out over the radio so everyone can hear it. And him and his partner get there and they're dealing with this, and there was nobody from there was no MET available, no
mental
mental
health
health workers,
evaluation
crisis
team.
intervention
Yeah.
people, and so they were trying to work on getting someone to come to help this woman to provide services, and ultimately they end up having to transport them themselves to the center to get treatment. But while that's happening, these auditors show up and they start recording, and they're like getting in everyone's face, and they're like yelling at them, and then they're like, I demand to see a supervisor, and I get called out, and this guy's like just being a jerk, but he's standing there in public and he's recording, and there's this one interaction where you had with him where you said to him, why don't you, like, what'd you say? Why don't
It's
you,
like, why don't you just stop?
yeah, why don't you just stop, or something to that effect? And the guy yells back and he's like, I don't have to. And Nick's like, yeah, I know, but why don't you? Like, this poor woman is in crisis. We're public officials. We put on the uniform. We signed up for it. You want to be mean and be a jerk to us? Go ahead, all day long, whatever. But like, this poor lady is having the worst day of her life. She's suicidal. We're here trying to find help for her, and you're sticking a camera in her face because you want to get likes on Instagram or whatever.
See, that's the thing that like bothers me too, is like it just goes back, like sometimes like there's that, like you say, because I haven't really, I had not really, like I didn't really think about that.
Uh,
I haven't really heard about this, but then again, I've seen this on social media.
Yeah.
Where it's like they'll go around and they're like, "What's your badge number? Tell me your
Yes.
badge number. Why are you not saying your badge number?
Exactly, yeah.
What's your last name and your badge number?" And it's like that type of stuff. It's again, it's like, yeah, you have your right. Like that is your right, right? Like, I mean, it is.
Mhm.
But there's like a lot of things that you can do that
Yeah.
you just like you shouldn't do.
Well, you can
Right.
be an asshole, but you probably shouldn't be an asshole.
Yeah, and it's like you have every
Yeah.
right to be. I mean, it's like you have every right to be. But I mean, it's like not. My whole thing is like when I hear about that stuff, it's like what good is gonna come from that? Like I'm
Mhm.
genuinely like, and if they have an argument, I would be genuinely like curious, and I could probably come up with like be devil's advocate and like
The
you know
steelman
it's
in
like
their
a
case, they're trying to say that the police are acting above and beyond their authority.
right, exactly,
And
and
they're
it's
trying
like
to generate and demonstrate examples of that. And that's
Yeah.
what they're not trying to get that content to demonstrate. But again, and what I would argue in like in Nick's case, like the kind of an unethical way when you're like sticking a camera in the face of this poor lady who's in crisis and you're trying to generate a response where Nick's like, hey, why don't you stop that? And now you're trying to then make it look like Nick's violating your civil rights by telling you to stop. And he's like not ordering you to stop, but he's like, hey man, like just be a human, be a
Yeah.
nice guy and stop like making this more difficult for this poor lady than it has to
That's
be.
that's like my whole thing is no, I mean that's seriously. There's like that's my whole thing is like when that type of stuff happens, it's like, I mean, come on. Yes, you have your right to do it, but like you want to know what could be really effective is if you're just like a human. Like
Yeah.
if you're
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
I mean I mean we all can be like that, right? It's like, technically like if you're in if you're in an argument with like your significant other, your
Mhm.
spouse or something, you know very well that you could say something. It's like, I know that I'm right, but like what good is that actually going to
Yeah.
do? Like
Yeah.
sometimes it's better to just like,
It's better to have peace than to be right.
it's better to
I can
have
tell you that.
peace, and
Yeah.
and so sometimes I feel like that that type of stuff. It's like it's the gotcha. I mean, I feel like sometimes journalists get into this. It's like they'll get in this mentality of like, well, I have every right to do kind of like that gotcha, like put a camera in front of her face, and
Mhm.
and now I will say this. There is a time and place for that.
Yeah.
If we're
Yes.
looking for answers, if like a public official, and you see this all the time with
Mhm.
like politicians or so forth, they are public employees.
Yeah.
They're always out in front of the camera. They want
Yeah.
to be in front of the camera
We want to know where the list is.
until they don't, right? And so it's always like when they're not answering questions,
Yeah.
and we've given them and like what I'll do, I've only had to do this, like I've only had to do it
Like
once.
refusing to answer or give you the runaround or refusing to meet with you for an interview, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and it's like I will go over and beyond to the point where it's like I actually look weak because I've just been like, hey, like this is my fifth time like asking to set something up. I've only done it in my almost 10-year career. I've only had to do it, I think, once,
Mm.
where I was like, I'm not getting, and I had to go in, prepare, and then just get them on the record.
Yeah.
It's terrible to do, but then at the same time, it's like, yeah, like I wanted peace. I wanted to have a sit down, a comfortable
Yeah.
environment for
Yeah.
you. You did not, you disrespected me,
Yeah. Well, and if you're a
and
public official,
you're a
then,
public official.
that's your responsibility is to provide that information.
So it's like in those instances, that's when I think it's like it's okay. It's like I'm
For sure.
absolutely I'm
No,
going
I
to
agree.
exercise my right here
I'm on board with you there.
When it's necessary.
when it's absolutely
necessary, yeah.
essential, when it's
Reasonable and
absolutely necessary.
Yeah. But when you're just trying to generate Instagram likes by harassing, and like when that video comes out, like of course they don't show the part where this poor lady is like, and
Yeah.
good for them not showing it, but there's that context
Again,
doesn't
the context
exist.
is needed.
Doesn't exist when you hear Nick say like, "Hey, why don't you stop?"
Well,
Like,
and then
that
it's
doesn't
like,
exist.
and I know it infuriates you, Nick, when you're just like,
I'm just
I
trying-
know what you're doing, which
Yes.
makes it worse because it's like I know what you're trying to accomplish,
Yeah.
which is even more frustrating.
Yeah. So
You
I tell the officers to just, be polite, give them the middle, when it comes to auditors, not the media, when it comes to these First Amendment auditors, give them, the limited amount of information that you have to for that interaction, be polite and just, go about your business and do your job. And they know like what they can get away with. And as long as they stay
Right.
out of your way and they're not physically obstructing you or impeding your investigation, then it's just the world we live in now. And if you don't give them anything, they eventually just move on because they're trying to get something.
Oh, you know what I've actually figured out? If you start playing
That's right. Yeah.
music loudly, they have to mute the audio
Yeah.
because they don't have rights.
copyright, yeah.
Yeah, I figured that out one time when during Christmas, there's a streamer like across the street, and I'm dealing with like this lady and her kids, and I was just like, I mean, we were doing a whole lot. We are just kind of more doing like a check the welfare kind of deal, and then so I just like from my phone, I just started turning up the music really loud to Christmas music. And then later on, I went back and looked at his stream, and that was mostly just because I wanted to hear the Christmas music through his stream. But then that wasn't the case because he actually had to mute it. And when he went back and looked, at it, he was like, "Oh, this guy, I thought he was cool, but now he's playing music because he knows that I can't." And in reality, I didn't know that, but now I do know.
Now I do
And-
know.
And then that is a tactic that I do
A
use
tactic, yeah.
sometimes.
So, and actually, it's funny that you say that because it's actually becoming more and more prevalent, even in because like you've all used Shazam.
Yes.
right?
Oh.
Like if you hear a song that you're like out and about, you're like, oh, what is the song? You Shazam it,
Oh,
and
yeah.
then it will,
Tell
like
you.
it's a
Tell you
song. Well, that type of technology, especially like AI, it's getting into like all media platforms. All media platforms have this. I don't know what it's called. There, it could be different things, but the idea
ability
is
to do
there,
it.
the ability.
Yeah.
So what's happening is, like, if we run a story that has music in it, if it's newsworthy, we can run like 3 seconds of it.
Yeah.
But then we cannot post it online. We cannot, if we post it online, it's art. We can only air it live, right?
Mhm.
Because the software,
Yeah.
the
they pick
software,
it up.
whatever, picks it up. It goes like, oh, you used our song.
Yeah.
Here's a bill for $5,000, or
Yeah.
for the 10 seconds or the 5 seconds that you used.
Yeah.
And so it's like, the technology's out there that it hears it,
Yeah.
even if it's like what you were playing it from your phone, it hears it and it will block it.
Yeah.
Like
Oh.
immediately. Yeah.
So go forth and conquer with that information.
Yeah.
Christmas music in July. That's what I want to hear.
There
Yeah.
you go. All right.
You say it's a tactic,
perfect.
you know?
You got any other questions for Alex?
No.
All right. Well, Alex, thank you for coming out and talking
Yeah.
to us. Really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. Stay frosty.